2022 Ford Maverick. Don't be fooled. This is all the information you need to know to be up to date. So let me help you out here. Today we're going to be talking about arrivals. When is your Maverick going to arrive? So I'm going to be helping you with that. Be talking about transport time to give you a good idea on how long from the date that your Maverick is completely built to when it should arrive. So I'll give you all that information about transport times and the difference between hybrid and EcoBoost. I'm also wanting to make sure you don't get fooled on size. So size matters. So we're going to be talking about Maverick size. Now I got a guy who's 6'1". I got my brother because he's taller than I am. I've got my 6'1" brother. Got him to help me out, sit in the back of the Maverick, put the seat all the way back to show that someone who's 6'1" with the front seats all the way back does actually fit. So if anyone's thinking and believing that only someone who's 5 foot would fit in the back when someone who's 6'4" sitting in the front, for those that think that that's the case, that's not the case. I've tested it. I like to be data driven, a little bit of observational science mixed with, as much data as possible. I want things to be proven. So, I don't want anyone to be fooled here. So I'm here to help this evening. I'm doing this before I have dinner. So that's why I'm still in the work clothes. So, cut me a little break, and I really appreciate all the positive comments from the last video. Thank you for leaving comments. I have moved the bookcase for those that it was bothering, and I think, I like to be precise, so at least the bookcase is precise. So I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and I'm going to be giving you up all the need-to-know information on the Maverick, including some need-to-know information on the hitch. And I don't want your Maverick to arrive late, so I'm talking about Maverick arrivals. But I'm also going to be talking about what to avoid to make sure your Maverick doesn't arrive late. So that's why I think this is all the must need to know up-to-date information, because really it's everything that might be causing you or will be causing you a whole lot of trouble. So you'll want to watch this one right to the end. But before that, if you could just click on the little thumbs up button to help get the word out, because there's a lot of confusion and a lot of, misinformation on the internet. And I want the right information to go out. I want to be helping everyone out, and I want to have a great community together. So hit the like button if you haven't subscribed already. Please do. It really help me out, and of course I want to help you out. So if I've missed anyone's comments recently, I'm really sorry. Things have been really busy to the point where I'm doing videos either late at night or before dinner, so I can still have at least one night during the week that I can spend with the family, Winston and Marie-Pierre. So let's just jump right in. Let's put the pedal to the metal, and let's just hit these subjects up one at a time. Prost. And let's talk all about size misinformation. I've taken all sorts of photos today. We've got, and I'm going to be running them probably to this side, maybe to this side, haven't decided yet, but I've got photos showing the Maverick size versus a Ranger versus an F-150. So I'll be posting that up, and there is definitely a size difference. The Maverick, if you were to just look at it, you'd assume who's ever gonna fit in that? It looks so much smaller than an F-150 from the outside. It looks a whole lot smaller than a Ranger from the outside, but the interior space actually in regards to volume is very similar to a Ranger. And I've got a big Bronco, and I can say that the second row seating, I think, is better on the Maverick than the big Bronco. I ran through all the numbers the other evening, and in some areas, the Maverick actually had, better space, because I went from everything from hip width, shoulder width, height, and overall, the Maverick was pretty much at a tie with the big Bronco. Don't mistake that for the smaller Bronco Sport, because that will hurt some people's feelings, mine included. So let's just talk about size. We've got my brother Mike. He's 6'1", and he fit in the back seat even when I put the front seat all the way back. So if you're 6 foot, sorry, he's just got home, so he hasn't seen me yet. So if you're 6'4" and you're sitting in the front, and you're thinking anyone sitting in the back beneath. Anyone is sitting in the back that's, taller than 5 foot won't fit. That's not at all true. Brother's 6'1", put the seat all the way back, so someone who's 6'4" could definitely sit in the front. And he didn't have a whole lot of space. The seat was right up against his knees, but he fit. and he's 6'1" again. Now, when I put the seat in a position that I would sit in the front and be comfortable with. Now remember, I'm 5'10" without shoes. With shoes, I'm 5'11". But that doesn't matter for these measurements. I don't have the ridiculously short legs or weird proportions. I think I'm pretty much proportional, you could say, evenly spaced out. And anyways, I put that front seat to the front, to the position I'd be very happy sitting in, left myself some knee room, and then my brother had about, you can see in the video right here, he has about 2 or 3 inches between his knees and the seat, so he fits comfortably. So 4 adults can definitely fit in the Maverick. So I don't want any misconception. I hope no one has canceled their order thinking that adults can't fit in the back, because that's just not the case. It looks like the case because, you know, as you'll see with the video going on to the side, the Maverick does look a whole lot smaller than a Ranger or an F-150. It looks tiny beside the F-150 when parked beside it, but in reality, the inside is very spacious. Remember, you have 1,500 pounds of payload in the back. Total payload is about 1,560. So theoretically, if you wanted to follow the road rules, if you did have 1,500 pounds in the bed space, which Ford allows, well, you could only have a 60-pound driver. But let's also talk about this evening about VINs. So this truck here has a date, and this really, the VINs and window sheets and little door sticker really do help us know what kind of wait time you can expect out of your Maverick. So the sticker in the door, it says 8/21, so that's month and year. So they're not letting us know exactly when this was built. However, if you look at the window sticker at the bottom, and I'm just gonna look at that on my computer on the side, because this Maverick, this gorgeous Area 51 that I'm waiting for this color, but for a hybrid, and I'll get all about hybrid information and what's going on there in just a moment. But the very bottom underneath where it says special order, it says 09/28/21. So I believe they started, I believe they started building that the 28th. I believe they finished building it in October, and that's why the door sticker says as a date 10/21. I would suspect they probably would have finished building that very early October, maybe the 4th or the 5th. And if so, today's the 28th of October. We can figure about 3 to max 4 weeks of delivery time. So once your Maverick gets built, if it's an EcoBoost, so let's not switch my words or mix my words. If it's an EcoBoost, you should expect about 3 to 4 week delivery. So we're in, if you're in northern United States, I'm almost in northern United States. I'm in, very south Canada. So 40-minute drive to the border. If you're there, you can expect 3 to 4 weeks of delivery time for your Maverick EcoBoost. Now here's the complication. Hybrids. Looks like the EPA numbers are out. I think I was the first video on YouTube, or one of the very first, to actually have that window sticker that had been provided by someone on Facebook, sending that off to Maverick Truck Club. So Maverick Truck Club, great for information. Person shared their window sticker, and what's really neat and interesting about that is they got EPA numbers a day earlier than when Ford released the mixed bag of news, the kind of like a compliment sandwich. There's some meat and some bread on either side. But part of that great news was fantastic numbers, better than expected. 42 miles per gallon in the city, 33 miles per gallon on the highway, for an average of, I believe it was 37 miles per gallon. But anywho, moving right along, here's the issue. Even if you already have your hybrid built, or if it's getting built in the next few weeks, looks like, according to Ford's plan, according to the information I have, Ford's plan is to start delivering hybrids that already have VINs at the beginning of January. And the plan is also clearly stated. The plan is that, at least for my region, it was very clear. I've got it in front of me on my phone here, my other phone. But prévoyant, that means plan. So a little French lesson. Prévoyant means plan, and the plan is very clear. It says sera construit. So sera construit means will be constructed. So the plan is that all non-VIN assigned Mavericks hybrids that were in the system, you know, before the morning of October 21st, last Thursday. Well, the plan is that they will get built before the very end of March. And if you figure, heck, 3 to 4 weeks, even for, you know, we're pretty far away from that factory in Mexico. If you figure 3 to 4 weeks, well, we could figure, looks like there'll be a whole lot of Easter, you know, Easter Mavericks. So heck, great. April, maybe, you know, first week of May. Now, if you're much far, you know, if you're Alaska, that could be a whole different story. And I don't know what's going on there, so I can't help you out. But when I can, I will. Speaking of helping you all out, hitches. I'll put it to the side here. What we received is an EcoBoost all-wheel drive FX4. Now, some have speculated that you could definitely pull more than 2,000 pounds because the FX4 comes with a bigger cooling fan, a bigger radiator. Essentially, it's an upgraded engine cooling system. But for warranty reasons, it's still 2,000 pounds. And if you look at the photo, the little, you know, 4-pin, so the horizontal plug, now, sorry, yeah, vertical plug, my mistake. The vertical plug, I'm doing this from memory. You get to see it right here, but I don't have a cheat sheet. You know, the vertical one, those 4 pins, that's for your trailer's lights. Now, the other plug, which kind of looks like a round, we call that some of us call that a 7-pin. That's going to be for your trailer's brakes. So keep that in mind. Don't pull more than 2,000 pounds with the FX4 if you want your warranty to be, you know, legit, followed and fulfilled. And the reason for that is you have on the FX4 package, you have a whole lot of, you know, upgrades for engine cooling, but not transmission cooling. And that's where the 4K kit comes in. Now this FX4 does have the 4K, and that's why the 7-pin is there. You need ideally the 7-pin. If you're going to pull 4,000 pounds, make sure your trailer has trailer brakes. So the difference between an FX4, that's just an FX4, it wouldn't have the 7-pin. It also wouldn't have a transmission engine cooler. And logically, even if that 4K tow package does have that transmission cooler, and that's what's going to keep your warranty valid, don't pull 4,000 pounds without having brakes on your trailer. It only makes sense. The vehicle needs the extra help, you know, so that you don't heat up your transmission, and also just so you don't get pushed around by the weight behind you. I think that just makes sense. Now, furthermore, you know, we were talking about delivery times earlier, made it pretty clear. January, they're going to start arriving if you already had a VIN as of last Thursday, October 21st. And if you didn't have a VIN, but you did order before last Thursday, October 21st, well, Ford's big plan is to get those, you know, at least definitely for my region, to get those built. And then you can figure up to a month delivery, give or take. Now, let's specify something pretty important, and that's constraints. So we're going to be talking all about constraints in the next video. You just have to click on the next video up on my playlist. We will talk a little bit about, you know, the air cushion for the driver's seat, the pump for the passenger seat. We'll quickly just review size. You know, I hope you've enjoyed this size talk here. You know, you've got an F-150. The previous photo was a Ranger, and you've got the Maverick here, so just giving you a little idea of height, but there is plenty of space on the inside of the Maverick. It's really surprising. It does look a whole lot smaller than, you know, the Ranger and the F-150, but it's got all sorts of space in the inside, and I hope this video has helped show you that. You know, 5'10.5" guy in the front, 6'1" guy in the back, everyone was happy. We could go on a 4-hour trip. So thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned and just go right ahead and click on that next video coming up, because we're going to conclude this whole conversation about, you know, size. We're going to conclude the conversation about constraints. Really important. You know, we have talked about, you know, deliveries of hybrids starting to show up in January. We've also talked about, you know, 3 to 4 weeks delivery time if you're up in, you know, the northern states or, you know, southern Canada. And you know, we've talked about hitches, but we're going to conclude all that. And really the constraints are very important because that can throw it all out the window. You know, if you don't have your if you bought your hybrid before the 21st of October, but you don't have a VIN number yet, well, you can expect it to be built. Ford's plan is before the end of March, but constraints will mess all of that up. So stay tuned, click on the next video. Thank you so much. I hope you all get to put the pedal to the metal this week, and see you in the next video.